scrunched up in her car. Here, Faye's been in that seat, but she's not quite as big as you. Think you could do with putting the seat back, she said, pulling the bar underneath the chair and sending Nick flying backwards. Oh, thanks, Sal, he said sarcastically, readjusting himself in the chair. My advice is trade it in. Yeah, but I love my Bobby, she said, hugging the steering wheel. I'd miss him so much, she giggled. Nick glanced at her in disbelief. Sal, it's a hunk of metal, not a real guy. God, we really do have to find you a man soon. Either that or a very good shrink. Don't listen to him, she said, stroking the dashboard and talking to the car. He obviously doesn't understand the real you like I do. Nick shook his head at her. Definitely thinks she was beyond help. An absolute one-off was Sal. She crossed her fingers and started the car, hoping to God that it wouldn't let her down in front of Nick. To her amazement, it started first time, and she pulled out of the car park and onto the main road without incident. So, how was the winter for you then? Sal asked. Well, okay, I guess. I got to see my dad a bit, which I needed to do, and Jen wanted me to meet her family and friends. But I'm glad to be back, he said, gazing out of the window. Sal turned to Nick with surprise. Wow, got to meet the in-laws then. Sounds like it's getting serious. Well, he responded, staying non-committal. So where is Jen now then, Nick? Sal inquired. She'll be here at the end of the week. She's spending the remainder of the week with her folks, he replied casually, proceeding by changing the subject. Anyway, how have you been since I last saw you, Sal? Have you met any nice men lately? Well, lots of men. None of them nice though, she said, pulling her face. Anyway, I'm glad you're back too, she added. You are, he said with surprise. Yeah, of course. It's been a bit lonely over the winter, to tell you the truth. Adam has been whining and dining Faye to death. They're still completely besotted with each other. Makes you sick, she laughed. Yeah, I gathered that from the messages he sent me. Oh, that reminds me. How come you never kept in touch with me while you were over there, mister? You promised that you would email me, she accused him. He looked awkward then, as he frantically tried to come up with a response. Well, it was difficult, he began, cringing inwardly at the look on Sal's face. He sounded as if he was making excuses, and he knew it. But how could he explain the real reason to her? He wasn't sure that he could explain it to himself. He had wanted to get her out of his mind, but telling her that would only upset her, and that was the last thing he wanted to do. Sal confused him. She threw him off balance. She was both an alluring temptation to him, but he also valued the friendship that had developed between them. And she had this way of making him feel like an utter bastard for feeling anything other than friendship for her, although he was convinced that she hadn't a clue about some of the thoughts that went through his head when they were together. I missed you, of course, but I didn't have a fantastic time of it back there, to tell the truth, and I didn't want to bore you with all my moaning, he finally said. Hey, she responded, putting her hand over his. We're friends, remember? You can bore me as much as you like. I want to know if my friend isn't happy. He smiled. Thanks, Sal, but I'm happy now that I'm back here anyway. Me too, she smiled at him. Hey, you know what we need? She began, lightening the mood. We need some seriously good tunes. There's a CD case on the back seat. Take your pick, she offered, but make it upbeat and fun, she amended with a smile. With you, Sal, how could it be anything else? He laughed, reaching behind himself, grabbing the CD case and flicking through her CDs. He had to admit she didn't have a bad taste in music. In the end, though, he gave up searching for anything specific and put faith in her music collection by choosing a random compilation CD and slotting it into the CD player. When the music began, Sal did a little whoop of delight and turned the volume as high as it would go, as she always did. One of my favourite songs, she shouted above the music. It describes my mind-shattering man perfectly, she giggled. Nick smiled when he recalled Sal's obsession with finding what she called her mind-shattering guy. He could still remember their initial conversation about it during Sal's first disastrous transfer shift. She had actually picked up on some comment that he'd made about not settling down with Mr. Sensible and going back to live on the yacht with Mr. Mind-shattering sex guy. Hell, he gave good advice, and he'd certainly got Sal figured out quickly. Pretty soon, Mr. Sensible was well forgotten, and Mr. Mind-shattering guy had become her favourite fascination. The song continued, and Sal accelerated along the open coastal road. The wind rushed in through the open windows, cooling Sal's flushed face and causing an adrenaline rush as she sang the words with uninhibited abandon. As Nick watched her, he couldn't help but catch what he'd always mentally referred to as the Sal bug. She had a lust for life that was addictive and very contagious as far as he was concerned, and at that moment, for the first time in months, he felt exhilarated and alive. My God, this woman was going to break his heart somewhere along the line. He just knew it, and the stupid thing about it all was that she wasn't even going to realise when she did. He laughed to himself at the irony of the situation and the fact that she was singing to some invisible, non-existent lover that she was so very desperate to meet. Hey, what are you laughing at? She asked, turning to him with amusement. Nothing, Sal, he said, grinning back at her. She gave a carefree laugh and grabbed hold of his shoulder. It's great to see you again, Nick, it really is. He gave her a wink and she held up her hand for a high five. We're going to have the best summer ever this year, she shouted, slapping his hand and singing again at the top of her voice. He laughed and joined in with her. As they raced along the highway towards Agnick, Sal laughed and sang, oblivious of